This is our first chat of the Sunday edition. It's the new year. Many of us are fueled by the possibility of change. New year, new me, right? But the problem most of the time isn't necessarily that there's a lack of motivation, but it's just that most fitness resolutions are wildly unrealistic. So this morning we're going to be joined by Dr. Anesu Mbizvo, founder of Nest Space and wellness advocate, ready to chat about how to reframe the approaches to these goals by really focusing on building habits that can fit into our realistic lives. So on that note, Dr. Anesu, good morning and thank you for your time. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Liesl. Thank you so much for having me.
It's always great to have these chats with you. And we're looking back in hindsight at the year that was, and now we're opening a new chapter. It's the new year. People are setting new goals. But perhaps we could speak to the realistic nature of all of this. How do we begin to set the most realistic fitness goals for our well-being?
It's so interesting, isn't it? That new year, new me kind of mentality that we get into, where somehow from the 31st to the 1st, we're supposed to be a brand new person, no problems, our lives have magically changed. And obviously, usually by this time in January, where that first Monday rolls around and we start getting back into our routines, we realize that we are actually the same person. So I love what you say about setting achievable goals. And I think the first place to start is to set consistency as a goal. And I think that's something that we often lose track of, or that we often forget about, is figuring out how often it is we want to dedicate time to our fitness, to our well-being, and looking at our schedule at a practical way of fitting fitness in. So we usually want to try to dedicate about 3 days at least within our week for fitness. And I always say it's really, really good to build in a buffer zone when it comes to our fitness routine, in case something different happens, in case we have to visit family, in case there's a public holiday or we're feeling ill, so that we have an extra day where we've almost got a plan B to our schedules. And I find that that really, really helps with consistency.
I know that fitness is not just physical. It comes with mental and emotional priorities as well. So perhaps you could also weigh into those conditions or those factors that one has to be cognizant of, especially when we're aiming for this long-term endeavor.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. I mean, if our mental health is not where it should be, it's not going to help in terms of us feeling motivated to achieve anything that we want to achieve. So I'm a huge believer in starting with the mind first. And the wonderful thing about setting or resetting our mindset is it's very quick. So there's this philosophy called atomic habits. I don't know if you've heard of that, where we start off with tiny little habits that stack one on top of each other to create a big result or a phenomenal result. And I find that things like breath work, things like taking a moment to list things that we're grateful for at the start of the day, or even to congratulate ourselves on what we've done and what we've achieved at the end of the day, are really small things. You know, if you're doing your breathwork practice, it's just 5 deep breaths while you're brushing your teeth or while you're having your coffee. You list your gratitude practice again, that takes 5 minutes at the start or end of your day. And those things really just help us keep our lives in perspective. So even if you didn't manage to get to the gym on Monday, you start to recognize that maybe there were other things you managed in your day. You ate healthy, you drank and you hydrated as much as you used to, so that when Tuesday rolls around, you still feel motivated to get to the gym, even if you didn't achieve your goal the day before.
What about rest and recovery? Because that's also an important part. I mean, there are people that also go in hard, but the whole point about building muscle and maintaining a balance is that there is that space in between, adequate, peaceful, restful, and enough.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the incredible things about the human body is that it kind of mirrors what's going on in our greater society as well. And our society is not really good at resting, to be honest. I'm sure there are a lot of people who were feeling a little bit guilty about not doing things over the festive season. And that's just one manifestation of us not really having a good relationship with rest. And our bodies are not machines, right? They are organic organisms. They need time to restore balance, to restore what we call homeostasis, a state of balance within our bodies. And if we're not resting, if we're not sleeping enough, or even taking days within our fitness routine to recover our bodies, and that means not working muscle groups that we've dedicated effort or work to before, then we're really not going to see the gains, or we're not going to see the improvement that we're looking for. So rest is non-negotiable, whether that means that you are going for a walk instead of heading to the gym. Maybe you're doing some more restorative yoga instead of lifting weights that day. Or maybe you're just focusing on your sleep and getting the adequate amount of sleep that you need to. Absolutely paramount when it comes to fitness.
I'm so glad you spoke about walking and other forms of exercise, because if you're not used to gymming, that culture can be rather intimidating. And it's like, and then it obviously stalls and people don't then want to enter it. So tell us a little bit more about that mental approach to fitness on that front as well, how you can literally start small in your own home.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in it's not a one-size-fits-all thing. So yes, you might be a gym girly or guy where lifting weights is your thing, you like working on the machines, or you might be a dancer, you might be a nature lover, you might be a yogi, for example. And there's lots of different ways that we can move our bodies. As long as we're getting that heartbeat pumping and we're moving in some way, how you exercise is really up to you. And I find that spending time in nature is kind of like a universal language. We all feel restored when we're outside. It's part of our nature. And so taking nature as a motivation, getting outside, usually that's what we want to do, especially in summer season. The start of the year is a really great time to ingrain those habits. So do things that you enjoy, go and visit a park, kick around a soccer ball with your family, dance at home to your favorite song. You can hold the mic or do some air guitar while you're at it. These are all just different ways that we can move so that it is less intimidating, as you say, than thinking about a strict gym regimen, which can be difficult to stick to if you're starting off on your fitness journey.
Yeah, especially when people are also recording themselves and trying to get likes for it. But that is that social media age. 80-20 rule. Doc, the 80-20 rule with diet as well. I know that's also important. Brain, gut health, that link as well. Tell us a little bit more about the tips and tricks, the do's and don'ts as well when it comes to that.
So we're starting to recognize that everything is interconnected in our bodies. And a lot of indigenous knowledge around health and well-being already understood this, that if our mental health isn't in order, we're unlikely to be eating well because we're not motivated to look at what's entering our bodies. And if we're not eating well, we're not giving our body the fuel that it needs to function optimally. So gut health plays a role also in our mental health and in our mood. If we're not eating correctly, we generally feel sluggish, we don't feel motivated, but it also feeds into our immune system. And of course, you'll know if you're trying to set up a consistent gym routine, you're getting ill, you're getting injured, all of those things start to create speed humps when it comes to your exercise. So focusing on our gut health and what we're eating is fundamental when it comes to well-being, and also very intimidating for people. So I often say that it's about taking these small steps, again, these atomic habits. You might want to start off with looking at how much fiber you have in your diet, what are your veggies and your fruit portions looking like, and you make that your goal for January. Rather than cutting out all the sugar, the caffeine and everything, just focus on getting more fiber in your diet for January, and then that be your goal. And then in February, you change that perhaps to being more hydrated, adding more color to your plate, cutting down sugar, cutting down alcohol. But I find that each month having a specific goal is a really approachable way of keeping ourselves accountable to small changes that eventually have a big impact.
Because it's about consistency in the real world, and a lot of people say they don't have time, right? So is it a support thing? Is it a priority thing? Is it just making the time? That's the excuse that a lot of people say they just don't have, like to meal prep, to actually make time to exercise. Tell us a little bit more. So it's about that atomic habits that you obviously spoke of, but also just simple, realistic ways to foster that change for yourself.
Totally, Liesl. I think it's also about shifting our mindset at first. You know, a lot of us put a lot of effort into our careers or into external things that other people can see. But when you see your body as the vessel that carries you through life, really that's what should be our priority. You know, your body is going to help you to age, to keep moving, to interact with your family. Your brain is going to help you to interact with your work and what it is that you do. So naturally, if you want to be the best that you can be, switch your mindset to seeing health as not even a non-negotiable or a chore, but something that gives you life, something that gives you joy and gives you meaning. And I think that that's the first habit change that we need to bring in. And then, of course, it's about little things within our day. So for some of us, getting to the gym is really challenging. We don't have an hour at the start or end of the day, but we might have an office on the 8th floor. So challenge yourself to take the stairs rather than taking the elevator, for example. Maybe if you don't work in a high-rise building, you might want to take a walking lunch break, while you're eating, while you're walking for that hour that you're on lunch. So there's always a different way that we can add movement into our routines. I also teach desk yoga, which is basically just stretching your body while you're seated at a desk, while you're in your meetings. And that doesn't take any additional time at all, right? So I think it's, again, as you said, a lot of it is reframing what exercise actually means. It's movement. It's finding opportunities and pockets in your day where you can move and try to fit it into your existing schedule so that it doesn't just become another stressor, another chore that we have to deal with.
Wise words coming from you there, Doc. Thank you. Going to leave the conversation there, but we still have 360 odd days to get through. So let's see how we work on that practical advice that you've given our Dr. Anesu Mbizvo, medical doctor, wellness advocate, shares advice on holistic wellness, including mindfulness, self-care, and just integrating well-being into daily life as the new year, of course, comes into full fruition. So we're going to leave the conversation there.